of course, the currency, just to get into it a little bit, is obviously going to be based on energy, vibration, frequency, and that all in itself ties to your impact in the world, how the world is impacting you, your contribution, all that stuff, all tied into your value and also the amount of influence you have to spread within your reality. The amount of influence you have over your reality maybe is more appropriate. I mean, this all gets into things being, once we get to a certain consciousness, things will be acquired through remembering and not through physical possession or domination or acquisition. It'll be through a remembering of things once we're at that, kind of like the yogis do and the monks and stuff. Stewardship. Did I read this part already? I don't know. Stewardship is past. When steward becomes stone. Oh yeah, I did read that part. Okay. By the accordance of the duty of bonding to the desiacquiescer. The desiacquiescer. So the desiacquiescer is the one who desires to become the new steward, basically. In which case, the acquiescer becomes the steward, having stolen the duty upon the former steward, who is now stone in the matter. I don't know oh, what does this sound like? Sounds like Dr. Seuss got high and tried to rewrite the Constitution. So, there was a lot that came out in that last one. Duty and stolen, and let's get into it. Duty, both an obligation and a blessing. Obligation being your forward and outgoing contribution to whatever you are the steward of, and your obligation to the acquisition of it, and thusly, so like the obligation, the duty, obligation is within the duty, so the duty is the obligation, which is the outward. The duty is also the blessing, so you're receiving something from the duty also. So like what you would receive from the duty is the karma from either upholding or not upholding, or further on perpetuating the duty itself. It is the benefit and burden of the responsibility to the entirety of energy associated with the transfer of stewardship through the transfer of energetic currency per the terms and agreement outlined in the bonding. So I wrote like some of this up to like about here. Then I went to this page and I started defining a lot of stuff. Then I came back and wrote the rest of this. So you're going to get some definition in the description and vice versa. The bonding is the agreement, the terms and conditions. The dedication to the prosolution, to the posiprogolution of an entity. Dedication to the posiprogolution of an entity. Union to the well-being, development, evolution, and propagation of the entity. Responsibility to its existence, value, potential, advantages, and disadvantages. Is permanent until transfer between steward and acquiescer, whom Desi acquiesces to be the new steward. And now, this could get into the permanency of stewardship is also based on the conditions of the bonding and the duty, and whether or not the stolen duty was stolen to the stone. So, like, did you actually pay for what you took stewardship for? Or are you still under partial stewardship of it? And how many rights versus, like, how much do you still owe? What exchange needs to happen still, and what are the terms of that? Because whether or not that goes according to agreement, according to accord, is also kind of have an effect on the karma, the energy, the impact on your vibration, your frequency, the other person's like, it's all interconnected. And that's why this whole thing needs to be elaborated on, as far as like what gets exchanged, how much, how do you make it something tangible, like that's all needs elaboration. But this is just laying, like I said, the ground foundation for this whole thing. It is permanent until transfer between steward and acquiescer. You may be the steward of something. There may be someone else who is partial steward and stone, both ends, who you could either make a move to make them full steward again, or fully stone, in which case you would be the full steward. There's levels and degrees of stewardship, right? Progress towards so you could measure the possiprogression of something by measuring its finishing. Finishing is the stepwise evolution of progression of let me start over. Finishing is the stepwise evolution of progress toward the inevitable endward progression of an entity within its life cycle of existence, or oniofinite layer. Yeah, oniofinite. Alright, I'll get to it, I promise. So now, finishing is the stepwise evolution of progress. So, meaning that there's going to be steps. The finishing of something describes that stepwise evolution. Oniofinite describes the layers within the progression of an entity through its cycle of transitional placements. So each oniofinite layer is a layer of the finite, which the finite describes the entirety of an entity's being and not being, existence and non-existence. So the finite is everything. The finite is start and end. It's the full story. So an oniofinite is a layer of the finite, and a finishing is basically the story of the whole thing's story from start to finish. So that's why I was saying this thing goes deep. There's a lot of concepts, and I know it's a lot of new stuff, but they all tie to things that are tangible. It's just, you gotta see 20. Oh, I'm already this is already going to be a 2-part thing, but let's just keep going. So actually, I'll just dial in the Desi acquiescer again. It's the last thing I have written in there. The Desi acquiescer describes a being who is open to accepting the energetic karma and thusly the stewardship of an entity via energetic exchange or exchange of energetic currency. So next time, I'd like to elaborate on the energetic exchange, the energetic currency, the acquiescence of certain things, how it all comes together on the next video. So be sure to check it out, and if you haven't already, subscribe. If you liked this, let me know. Keep me going. But until next time, never stop spreading your light.